Hello, I'm Mark, and it's great to have you back at the SimHanger for all things flight sim related. Microsoft at this year's E3 surprised the flight sim community by announcing the planned release of Microsoft Flight Simulator 2020. I released a video at the time, but I didn't speculate in there too much as very little was known. Asobo Studios and Microsoft have subsequently been fairly forthcoming in terms of the development of this planned release. The tech alpha should be starting shortly. We're going to take a quick look and do a catch-up on what we know so far. But if it's anywhere near as good as it looks, and as far as we can tell from what they're saying, all the features that it will have, then we need to talk. Because this could be a game changer, a real disruptor in the market. And that places us flight simmers in a bit of a quandary. What do we do about the investment we've already made in other flight simulation packages? If you'd like to see more from SimHanger, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and tap the bell for future notifications. Let's get started. The new simulator is being developed for Microsoft by Asobo Studios. Based in Bordeaux in France, they have a track record in terms of game and holographic development. Some of their more recent releases include A Plague Tale, Monopoly, Rush, which is a Disney Pixar adventure, and The Crew 2. When the first teaser video was launched, it was impressive not only because of its clarity being in 4K, but in a level of detail we haven't seen before. All the cities, 40,000 airports, roads, rivers, mountains. This is truly a world in which you can fly VFR anywhere. And more significantly, this is scenery at the default level. Asobo Studios have considerable experience in creating large open worlds and using a combination of various data sources in conjunction with Microsoft's Azure AI for color correction, tree placement, and model detail. And how big is this world? Well, it's 2 petabytes or 2,000 terabytes. Well, this amount of detail is never going to fit on your hard drive or mine, but it doesn't need to because the data is going to be streamed live to the simulator. When this became known, it obviously caused some concern because the bandwidth varies considerably on different internet connections. The way that Microsoft Flight Simulator is going to tackle this is through adaptive streaming. That means the amount of detail being pushed through on your broadband connection is going to vary in detail to match your bandwidth speed. Better bandwidth is going to mean more detail. It will also feature an offline mode, allowing you to pre-cache your selected regions that you're going to fly in for offline access. The level of 3D geometric modeling in this simulator is quite remarkable, right down to individual grass blades. Microsoft Flight Simulator, importantly, is going to feature adaptive frame rates. And what this means is the frame rate is going to be adjustable to match that of your monitor at any given time. And the effect of that is a much smoother experience. Featuring real-life data, the weather model, which has been written from scratch, provides a level of detail and ability to interact that we haven't experienced before. Incorporating multi-layered atmosphere with different densities and humidity and pollution affecting visibility, combined with realistic up and down drafts, VFR pilots are going to have to be on their toes in this one. The realism of the environment is further enhanced by true 3D volumetric rain, clouds, and light source. The detailed physics modeling of these factors means that rain reacts as it should and stretches across the windscreen from the prop wash. Clouds are truly 3D volumetric and light sources are true to life. Reflections show on buildings and on water. Clouds cast shadows. Up to 32 layers of 3D clouds available and visibility up to 600 kilometers. With the right environmental factors, even rainbows are possible. That's impressive. The all-new core physics of this flight simulator means that slope surfaces can be modeled, as well as accurate depiction of friction when using brakes or landing on different surfaces such as grass and cement. The environmental impact on your aircraft systems, such as putting your gear down, will have much more of a realistic impact. Real pilots have been used to ensure that the models for stall, spin and the speed handling balance are more closer to reality. No more flying on rails. One interesting and perhaps surprising announcement is that if you don't like these new physics, well, you can switch back to the legacy simulation. The detailed modeling and subsequent impact on the aircraft and the environment around you, on the air pressure and in particular the wind, is one area that I'm particularly impressed with. With hundreds or perhaps even thousands of different pressure points on the wings of the aircraft is going to mean the aerodynamics are far more realistic. I think we can expect ground effect on landing. Flying VFR, you're going to have to go around those storms and clouds and turbulence over high ground. Wind shear is modeled and 3D objects affect the wind direction. Microsoft are releasing short videos featuring different elements of the flight simulator, and the next one is on cockpits. That'll be interesting. From what we've been able to see so far, they look finely detailed. I look forward to that. Asobo Studios say they've spent quite a lot of time working on the sound to ensure that it's accurate, and positional sound is a feature of the simulator. One important aspect that we've not had information on so far is the menu user interface. This seems to be somewhat of a closely guarded feature at this time. With the environmental modeling and HDR, the night lighting is every bit as good as you would want it to be, varying in intensity and reflection. Asobo Studios via Microsoft have kept the community updated with the development plan of this flight simulator. FS Elite had an interview with the developers at Xbox 19 that was recently held in London. Asobo certainly have gone some way to ensure they interact with the community. It was interesting to note that the most requested feature was virtual reality, VR. In addition, seasons, as it's likely this will not be shipping with seasons initially, and an economy model for the simulator. Although Microsoft Flight Simulator will not be shipping with VR initially, Asobo definitely have not ruled this out, and they're ideally placed to develop VR for this application, having worked previously with Microsoft on HoloLens and a variety of AR and VR programs. When this flight simulator was first announced, I was a bit concerned that it was also going to be on Xbox, and I was worried it was going to be an arcadey style type game, more along the lines of Microsoft Flight than Microsoft Flight Simulator. What has become apparent is that certainly is not the case. This could very well be the next-gen flight sim. Microsoft have announced in the past that they will be supporting third-party development, and PMDG, Robert Randazzo, surprised us recently by announcing that they are already developing the 737NG, which will be known as the 737NG3 for Microsoft Flight Simulator. He further surprised me by announcing that he's dropping development for X-Plane and all 32-bit platforms. I fully understand why development of 32-bit platforms should be discontinued, but I was surprised that he included X-Plane in a list of simulators that he's no longer going to be supporting. I wonder if this is a sign of things to come. At the XO19 FS Elite interview, Microsoft said they had spoken to about 60 companies regarding development for Microsoft Flight Simulator 2020. They also announced they are working with a number of aircraft manufacturers, which included Airbus, Boeing, Cessna, Diamond, Robin, to name just a few. Turning now to other matters, the Xbox version is going to be available on Game Pass, which is a monthly subscription-based service, and it appears likely that this will also apply to the PC version. Game Pass gives you access to 30+ games for a set monthly fee of something close to $10 US. Whether the purchase of Microsoft Flight Simulator will be restricted only to Game Pass, that's not clear at this time. Opinions and views on a monthly subscription service vary wildly. There are benefits in terms of it allows people to try out the game relatively inexpensively before making any longer-term commitment. And again, if you look at an annual subscription, which is going to be around $120, well, that's not that far off the cost of an upgrade in Prepared. Well, that's a very impressive lineup of features coming up in Microsoft Flight Simulator 2020. Is this the next-gen Flight Simulator, able to take advantage of multi-core CPUs, multi-thread applications, and adaptive frame rate? The hardware specifications required in order to run Microsoft Flight Simulator have not yet been made public. However, because of the adaptive frame rate technology, perhaps the entry level will not be quite as high as perhaps we fear. However, I do believe that your experiences will vary considerably depending on your bandwidth, the horsepower of your CPU and number of cores, and of course your graphics. We're also not aware of what the release date is, although I see the development program is already well into January. Based on that, I'm pretty sure it won't be in the first quarter of next year. There's also a number of features that perhaps we would have expected to be built in, particularly coming from the developers and Microsoft, that won't be available on initial release. No VR, big disappointment to me personally, and a surprise, no seasons. With Microsoft Flight Simulator due to be released next year, this puts us flight simmers in a bit of a quandary, or most of us anyway. We already have a considerable investment in our chosen flight simulator or flight simulators. In my case, Prepared and X-Plane. What do we do now? Do we continue to invest in the software, scenery, aircraft, or do we put our wallets away and wait for the release of the new simulator? And when will that release be? Is it 3 months, 6 months, 9 months? Difficult choices, particularly with holidays and Christmas looming ahead. And what does that mean for a number of the developers? Yes, they may be developing for the new Microsoft Flight Simulator, but they're not really going to get a benefit until the program is out. If everybody puts their wallets away, this is going to make some tough times ahead for the software developers, big or small. When this flight sim does get released, it's going to be on more than one platform, not least of which is the Xbox. And this is going to expand the number of flight simmers in the community considerably, I would think. And that can only be good for both developers and for users. I would really be interested to know what your feelings are and whether or not you're going to invest in software in your existing flight simulator until such time the new product is released, and what your views overall are. Please leave them in the comments below. Thanks very much. I hope you found this useful and informative. Thank you very much for joining me. I'll see you again soon, and bye for now.